Have you ever been stranded on a quiet highway at 1 a.m. and watched a car slow down like it was looking for you? What would you do if that same car circled back 3 times and then someone disappeared? Tonight, I tell you what happened to me on an Appalachian back road and why I still wake up thinking, what if I'd done something different? My name is Jonah Price. I spent 10 years doing night shifts as a volunteer EMT, and I drive routes through the southern Appalachians all the time. Late night transfers, supply runs, that kind of thing. I know when a road feels safe and when it doesn't. This is a true story. Everything I'm about to tell you happened on one long drive between towns in the Blue Ridge foothills, and it's the kind of thing that could happen to anyone. Carter and I were on a long road trip to visit our old college crew. 14 hours if you don't stop much. We'd split driving the usual way. I'd take a few hours, he'd take a few, snack, swap, trade off. Around 3 a.m., after 2 cups of terrible diner coffee and a flat playlist, Carter took the wheel. I tried to sleep in the passenger seat, but I couldn't get comfortable. Somewhere past Withville, in that stretch of US 19 that hugs the ridgeline, everything is quiet. No towns, no streetlights, just trees and the glow of your own dash. About an hour into Carter's stint, I noticed the car coughing. The engine hiccuped, then sputtered. We coasted to the shoulder. The gauge was at empty. Older Chevy, no electronic reminders, one little needle that tricked me into thinking we had more than we did. Carter said the nearest station was 4 miles up. He grabbed a gas can and started walking. It felt dumb and manageable. He knows the road, and the station was close-ish. We left the hazards on and the doors locked. Maybe a mistake, maybe not. Hindsight is always sharper. 3 minutes after he left, headlights rounded the bend. They rolled past at 15, maybe 20 miles an hour, too slow for a highway, like someone pacing a storefront. At first, I thought it was a good Samaritan. The car crept, then did a sloppy 3-point turn and came back. This second time, it crawled by like it was looking in the windows. My chest tightened. People stop for strangers, sure, but there's a difference between stopping and staring. I turned off the dome light so they couldn't see inside. The headlights left a pool of yellow, and then the road went black again. I watched the mirror for a long minute and felt the stupid, dull panic that comes when you realize you might have made a bad call. My phone had 1 bar. I called Carter. Nothing. I called again. Nothing. I left a voicemail for dispatch, like an old reflex from ambulance days. No reply. The slow car came back a 3rd time, even slower. This time, it stopped 2 houses down, and the engine idled for a long time. A man stepped out, peered down the road as if scanning. He didn't call out. He didn't offer a hand. He just stood there and squinted into the dark. He looked wrong. Not overtly violent, just wrong in the way that makes you realize a person has crossed some line from normal. I felt something shift in me. The tiny, instant calculations we all make when a situation flips. Stay and hope Carter returns, or move and try to catch him. I told myself I'd jog to meet him, that I'd close the distance, and we'd laugh about how stupid we were. 10 minutes into that jog, with the night so quiet my breathing was a drum in my ears, I heard my phone ring faintly in the grass ahead. A light pulsed low in the ditch. Carter's phone. I called out. He told me, barely audible, to get down. A second later, headlights tore the silence and the slow car was back, passing right where we were hiding. There's something about light on wet asphalt at night that sticks with you, how it makes textures glossy and how shadow falls wrong. The man who'd stopped had walked as if he'd practiced appearing casual, shoulders loose, hands empty, smile too slow. When he couldn't find anything, he'd circled and kept circling like a dog pacing a porch. We watched his tail lights move away in the distance and then disappear. Carter and I scraped our knees and ran for the gas station when we thought it was clear. He told me later that the guy at first had asked if he wanted a ride. Like anyone could be that naive at 1 a.m. Carter said no, and the man's face changed like someone flicking a switch. Crimes where victims are lured or targeted at night aren't just horror chatter. There are documented cases where people who stop at the side of the road become victims, or where would-be helpers are actually predators. Law enforcement and survival resources repeatedly warn motorists about strangers who approach in the dark and advise caution when you're stuck on a road at night. Many agencies recommend using hazard lights, staying inside with doors locked, and calling 911 rather than accepting rides from unverified strangers. Those are not urban myths. They're practical safety steps backed by officers and safety guides. At the gas station after, fluorescent buzzing and older vinyl coupons stuck to the counter, the attendant, an old guy with a slow drawl, handed Carter the can and asked if everything was okay. Carter gave him the briefest version. Car died. Guy was sketchy. The attendant nodded as if he'd heard that before and said almost gently, "You boys lucky." People don't always do right by other folks at this hour. He told us, offhand, about a pair of hikers years ago who'd flagged down a truck and not been seen again. Not the sensationalized version you get on conspiracy forums, but the kind of local memory that quietly affects how the town moves at night. You get these small confirmations that the world isn't always safe when it's quiet. We filed a report. The cop who came out wrote down our description. The make, a dark sedan, an older man, cadence of driving. He said they'd cruise the area and log it. We were told to check local LEO apps and to be careful. There was no overnight chase, no dramatic arrest. That's how these things usually go. Police do what they can with the facts they have. Sometimes leads go cold. Sometimes the only record is the words typed into an incident log. But the report matters. It's a paper trail that might make the next patrol be a little more vigilant. Even so, the station gave us the typical practical advice. Stay with the vehicle. Call for help. Don't chase someone who might be dangerous. On the way home, weeks later, I passed that same stretch. The road was the same ribbon, the trees the same hulking shapes. But I drove with 2 hands on the wheel and the gas needle well above half. I remember the white fade of a distant headlight and the instant that cold memory of Carter's phone ring and a man's slow 3-point turn slid over me like an old bruise. The moment that stayed with me wasn't the danger we ran from. It was the feeling that for a second I trusted convenience over caution. That's not dramatic. It's just human. We weigh risks against how tired we are and what it costs to be safe. I still replay those minutes in my head. I feel guilt, stupid, private guilt, for letting us run out of gas and then for thinking Carter could just walk that road at 1 a.m. I tell myself I did what I could in the moment, but the lesson is real. Tiny decisions add up. If anything else came from that night, it's that I don't ignore gauges and I don't assume an empty road is safe. We went home and told our friends. Carter sleeps with his phone face up now, and I keep an emergency kit in the trunk. It's not melodrama. It's practical change inspired by a close call. If you like this on-the-ground real-time story, told plain and true, hit subscribe. I share documented first-person road stories like this every week. What happened, what was reported, and what I learned. If you want more, watch the next video. I'll link about what to do if your car dies on a dark road. It walks you through the exact safety steps EMTs and patrol officers recommend. Before you go, one question for you. If you were stranded on a quiet highway at night and a stranger slowed down and offered help, would you accept? Or would you wait and call it in? Tell me below. And if you've ever had a moment on the road that made you change how you travel, I want to hear it. I read every comment. What if the scariest thing you'll ever see isn't in a haunted house or a graveyard, but on a lonely stretch of American highway right now? Because it's not just urban legend. People are vanishing. Cars are found abandoned, and some travelers swear they've seen things that shouldn't exist, but do. Hey, my name's Daniel Reyes. I'm a documentary researcher based out of Austin, Texas, and for the past 7 years, I've been tracking real verified accounts of supernatural encounters tied to road trips across the United States. Not ghost stories your uncle tells around a campfire, not TikTok hoaxes. I'm talking about police reports, 911 calls, dash cam footage, and eyewitnesses who still can't sleep at night. Today, I'm sharing 3 bone-chilling true road trip horror stories. Each one documented, each one terrifyingly plausible. And each one happened on roads you might drive on your next vacation. Our first story takes us to Fayette County, West Virginia, right off Route 60 near the New River Gorge. In October 2022, a couple from Columbus, Ohio, Mark and Lisa Chen, were driving home after visiting family in Charleston. It was past midnight. Rain had just started falling, and they took a shortcut across the old Tunney-Hunsaker Bridge, a narrow, one-lane steel truss bridge locals have nicknamed the Whispering Bridge. According to their police statement, and later confirmed by the Fayette County Sheriff's Office, about halfway across, their headlights caught something standing in the center of the lane. A woman, barefoot, wearing a soaked white nightgown. Her hair hung over her face, dripping onto the rusted metal deck. Mark slowed the car. Lisa rolled down her window to ask if she needed help. That's when they heard it. Not a voice, not a scream, but a whisper, low, guttural, and coming from everywhere at once, that said, "Get out, before it takes you too." Lisa told investigators the whisper didn't sound human. It sounded like static mixed with teeth grinding. They sped off, but when they checked their dash cam later, the figure was gone. The bridge was empty, except in the audio track, the whisper was still there. Clear as day. Here's the chilling part. That bridge sits less than a mile from where, in 1958, a woman named Eleanor Voss jumped to her death after her husband vanished on a hunting trip in the gorge. Locals say she waited on that bridge every night for weeks, until she couldn't take it anymore. And to this day, drivers report sudden temperature drops, phantom knocking on their roofs, and most disturbingly, seeing a barefoot woman waving them to stop, even when no one's there. Now, let's head west to a stretch of U.S. Route 66 between Kingman and Peach Springs, Arizona. You've probably driven it, or at least seen photos of those endless desert vistas. But locals, they avoid that 37-mile stretch after dark. They call it the Hungry Mile. In July 2023, a solo traveler named Derek Langston, a software engineer from Portland, was road tripping to L.A. His last known GPS ping was at 11:47 p.m., just past Hackberry. His car, a silver Honda Civic, was found 3 days later, parked neatly on the shoulder, engine cold, keys still in the ignition. His phone, wallet, and half-finished water bottle were inside. But Derek, gone. No footprints, no signs of struggle, nothing. What makes this case truly unnerving? It's not the first time. Since 1999, at least 11 vehicles have been discovered abandoned along that exact stretch, each with personal belongings intact, each driver vanished without a trace. The Arizona Department of Public Safety has no official explanation, but truckers who run that route, they tell a different story. One veteran hauler, Rick Morales, told me in a recorded interview, "You don't stop there after sunset. Not for gas, not for a piss break. Because if you do, you'll hear it. A low hum, like the road itself is breathing, and your radio starts playing static. Then voices, not in English." In something older, Derek's sister later released his final voicemail, left at 11:42 p.m., where he sounds panicked, whispering, "There's something in the headlights. It's not a coyote. It's tall, and it's watching me." The call cuts off mid-sentence. To this day, Derek Langston remains missing. And that stretch of Route 66, it still swallows cars. Our final story hits close to home. Literally, it happened just outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in March 2024. Sarah Mitchell, a nurse, was driving home from a night shift at Our Lady of the Lake Hospital. It was 3 a.m. She'd taken the back roads, Highway 64 through the Atchafalaya Basin, to avoid traffic. She was alone, or so she thought. About 10 miles in, she felt it, a pressure on the back seat, like someone had just sat down. She checked her rearview mirror. Nothing. But the feeling grew stronger. Cold air pooled around her ankles, and then she heard breathing, slow, wet, right behind her left ear. Sarah told investigators she didn't dare look back. She sped up, hands shaking, but the breathing got louder. Then came a whisper, raspy, wet, like lungs full of swamp water. "You shouldn't have taken this road, girl." She swerved into a gas station in Krotz Springs, screaming. When deputies arrived, they found muddy handprints on her back seat window from the inside. And the scent, according to the responding officer, was like rotting cypress and river mud. Here's the truth no one talks about. That road runs through land once owned by a 19th century plantation where, in 1837, an enslaved man named Jean-Baptiste was lynched after being accused of helping others escape. Local oral history says he vowed to ride with every traveler who passes his grave. And his unmarked burial site, less than 200 yards off Highway 64. Sarah hasn't driven at night since, and she still checks her back seat every single time she gets in her car. These aren't campfire tales. These are real people, real trauma, real places you can look up on Google Maps right now. And the scariest part, they're not rare. Every year, dozens of credible reports pour in, from state troopers truckers, families, about encounters on America's highways that defy logic, but not evidence. Because sometimes the road doesn't just lead you somewhere. Sometimes it watches you. If this chilled you to the bone and you want more verified real-life horror that's happening right now across the U.S., hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. I drop new stories every Thursday, all backed by police records, eyewitness testimony, and on-the-ground research. And if you've ever experienced something unexplainable on a road trip, especially if it happened in the last 5 years, I need you to tell me in the comments. Your story could be the next one I investigate. Before you go, ask yourself this. The next time you're driving alone at night and you see a figure on the side of the road, would you stop? Because someone out there already did.